to get trained at your local dive store or a beautiful tropical island while you're on vacation? That's what I'm going to talk to you about this week, because I have some pointers about maybe doing that and my advice of what I did, what I advise people to do. So, what, the shirt? It's a diving video. What do you expect? A jacket and tie? So you want to go on vacation. Start your scuba diving career in a beautiful tropical water with 200 feet visibility where there's plenty of fish and coral reefs. This is obviously the best place that you want to go for your first dive. You don't want to be trained in your local hometown, have to do your checkout dives at a smelly rock quarry, no visibility, or a cold lake. It's clearly the best decision to do that when you're on vacation, or why not even your wedding? You and your bride, you can go a few days early and learn to scuba dive in Fiji, or learn to scuba dive when you're in Jamaica. Well, I'm going to advise against that, and I'll give you several reasons why, from my experience, I think that's a bad idea, and why I tell my friends, you better do it in your hometown. And there's several reasons for that, so let me get into them. First off, you're going on vacation. Why in the world would you want to start studying and scuba diving on your vacation? Are you nuts? Scuba diving is a skill, and it is like many other hobbies. There is some risk involved, and I'm not going to get into any of that. This is a very introductory statement about resort diving versus hometown dive shop. So any risk aside, I'd like to compare it to driving. So if you're driving, if you tell someone who knows nothing about driving, if you get in the car and press one of those pedals, you'll be going 120 miles an hour and crash into a fiery oblivion. Well, if you don't know what you're doing, yeah. So scuba diving is the same way. There is some risk there, but it's not too major if you know what you're doing. So that will take a little bit of time. It does take some book work, and now, of course, they can do it online, but it does take several hours to learn what the mechanics of diving is, what the gear is used for, and what you can and cannot do. It's not something that you just ruffle through a pamphlet and then you know what you're doing, or take a 30-minute course. So why would you want to do that when you want to be enjoying a beautiful vacation? Also, think about the money you're spending. The price, assuming it's PADI, that's the most common certification company there is. So why would you want to pay the same price while you're on vacation? So it's actually not the same price if you think about that, because you'll be paying to take the course, but you're paying for a resort. You're paying for your time there. So really, you're paying, who knows, double, triple the amount of what you would be when you're at home. Taking it, let's say at your local, maybe they do their pool dives in the YMCA, then you do your checkout dives. And here, we're in Northeast Tennessee, so there is a rock quarry just across the road. It's actually quite nice. Of course, the water temperature is not, it's not going to be the same in the winter as it would be in Jamaica, but if you want to start this skill, if you want to gain it and earn it, and you want to use it, then you probably need to have a little bit of advancement to say, well, I plan to do it in a certain amount of time. Don't think, hey, overnight, let's go scuba diving, and hey, we can do it there. Well, if that's a rash decision you want to make, then, well, you're going to be a bit stuck to the resort. But if you're have a little bit of foresight and planning, and that's something you want to do. And usually people do have a bit of time to think about it, because the money, it's not so cheap. It's not as expensive as some other hobbies, because you can rent gear fairly reasonable, and some resorts even included in the dive. So the price difference isn't that much, so you might not ever want to buy gear, because you do have to travel with it. It's bulky and heavy. But like most things, there is some expense to it. So people have to save some money, and usually you can think, well, I can time it out, that I can, if I'm going to get certified locally, I can choose that to be in warmer weather. I don't have to wait for do it in the dead of winter, and I have to go to Jamaica. I don't know why you would want to plan everything that tight. But there is some expense to it, so usually have some planning and financial planning that you have to set aside to say, hey, I'm going to become certified and I want to go diving and on my trips from now on. So usually you have a little bit of time that you can at least time, depending on where you live, you can find some warm weather to do your dives at your shop. And then there's, you can do all of your book work, all of your pool work at your local dive shop. And then usually, if you're not familiar, usually your local shop, they'll go on a trip down to Florida and do your checkout dives there. So you can knock that out over a weekend. It's not really traveling abroad to do that. So why am I making this video? Why would I go against getting certified on resorts? Well, there's several reasons, and my experience with interacting with other divers, and is that a slander, right? A resort diver, is that a compliment or is that a bit of a backhand? Well, I'm not saying that everyone who's been certified at a resort is underskilled or any less of a diver than I am. I'm not saying that, but just some things that I have seen, and if you maybe ask around to people who's been in the diving community a long time, there's some things that they've seen as well that come, it's like, yeah, that's a resort diver. Because also think about that, you're there in this beautiful place. Are you really focusing on what's being told to you? You paid all this money, you want to be diving, but also you kind of like, you got the reggae music going in the background, and you've been cooped up all winter, so you kind of want to hit the beach, and the buffet's calling. You're a bit hungry, right? So a lot of these things come into play that that you're trying to focus on a skill and knowledge that you while you're on vacation. So what's the point of your vacation? Is that what you want to do? I've seen people on honeymoons, their entire honeymoon they spend by the pool, but not looking at the pool or the beach. It's like this, trying to learn the diving tables, learn how that goes. So if I would advise them before, I would have said, hey, get your certification before that. Take your time. You can go once a week or whatever your local shop schedule is. Do that, and then you can take your time. You can be comfortable. So when you hit the big ocean, you're not there at the hotel in your room, or, well, you get to go by the pool, but you're still looking and reading books and tables about nitrogen levels and depths and doing math equations and multiple dive algorithms. You don't want to be learning that while you're on vacation. And that's just kind of the first point that I have about that. The other is, I have also noticed, I'm not saying that the instructors are less qualified, because they all go through the same standard certifications that anyone else that I've ever met, or any PADI instructor, they all go through the same. However, there is this tendency to not disappoint. If you're here or in your local town, and you're really not following up on a lot of things like you should, or you're not getting something right, more than likely they'll say, hey, you know what, we'll work on this, we'll go back in the pool, we can help you because you're not really comfortable with your BCD, it's getting a little overinflated, and you're not letting the air out when you come up, so you're kind of shooting up, and on a deeper dive, that's going to cause you problems. So let's go back in the pool, work on some skills first, because you're just not comfortable yet. Well, they're probably not going to do that when you're on a resort. You're there for 5 days. You have to check out. You have to finish your dive. What do you think the likelihood that they're say, hey, you know what? I know you want to pay us to certify you, but we prefer you come back next year or whatever. No, your butt's going in the ocean, and you're going to be drug out there with everyone else, certified or not, and doing those dives. And I've seen that several times. The last time I was in Jamaica, I did a night dive, and we were just around the pool, and we had this couple talk to us about, hey, are you guys interested in a night dive? We're thinking about going. It's like, hey, yeah, absolutely, we're going night diving. It's great. And if you've never been night diving before, it's incredible. How many have you done? Oh, well, we're not certified yet, but the instructor said we could go out on the night dive to see if we liked it. I was like, are you kidding me? How many dives have you did in the open water? And again, I'm not an instructor, so I guess you can take people out at night too, but the husband, I don't know who was more afraid, because one, they're not comfortable with the gear. They're not qualified to be out there in any other circumstance. And the group actually, because they were allowing some students more or less to tag along, got a little bigger than the instructor could look after. So the girl was absolutely terrified of being out there in the ocean in the middle of the night. And some people dive their entire life but won't go night diving because you're in the middle of the ocean, it's pitch black. Yeah, and you're not on, and when you have to do your safety stop, you're not on the bottom, you're not even on the surface, you're right there in the middle with your lights turned up. So, let alone are you not experienced to be out there, you're not comfortable with the gear, you're feeling like you're up and down, you're starting to breathe heavy, and because you're not used to breathing out of a tank, and also all the other circumstances of it being night and, things swimming around. Yeah, it's a bit overwhelming, and is that really what they asked for? And they were on their honeymoon too. So, am I trying to scare you away from resort diving? No, but I'm just saying that's not going to happen at your local dive shop. Also, another thing I've seen is people want to record their memories. So they want to have a camera. They want to go underwater. They bought the GoPro. Oh, they even were ahead of the game, ahead of the curve. They have a red filter on their camera, so they even have all that. So they paid for it, but they're not certified, but they're going to be. And when they're out in the water, they got to get pictures for the family and everything. Well, if you're not familiar with taking a camera, and I've also been on some dives, if divers are, it's in their earlier diving career, and the dive's a little more technical and not just so cut and dry as going down, look at beautiful coral and fish and come up, especially like cave dives or in the cenotes. The guide won't allow them to take a camera because you need to be focused on what's going on and know your equipment. I won't get into any of that technical stuff because, again, this is just a brief overview. But I've also seen that, and this was from an advanced diver. So I was going on a dive. There was a couple with me and my wife, and my wife was not. My wife is an open water diver. She's not advanced. So the instructor was on the boat, and he's like, "Yeah, your wife." Basically, he was giving off a pretty jerk vibe about her being open water, and she's going to drag everyone down. But that day we were diving. Just the reef was like on a ledge, and it was a gradient, a consistent gradient. So I told him, I'm like, hey, I'm going to stay with my wife. It doesn't matter between 60 feet and where are they going, 80, 90? They can go below us. I don't care. I'll be up there with my wife. I don't think we'll see any less by doing that. And he said, well, he got my wife aside. He's like, hey, this is what you need to do. You need to be certified with me. My wife, she knows how I feel about it, and her the same. I'm on vacation. I don't want to be taking an advanced course. She's like, no. It's not what you think. I can have you in and out. I'll have you certified like that. And she's like, I don't want to be certified like that. I want to take my time and know what I'm doing. He's like, well, this couple here, I had them certified in, I forgot what he said. It was absurd. So I started talking to them. They're advanced diver. And this, I blame a little bit on the PADI system, the modern PADI system. You can be an advanced diver before you've ever even set out into the ocean, before you've had one dive as an open water diver, as a beginner, without any prerequisite amount of time even. You don't even have to be a diver for a year. This was their first time to be in the ocean, and they were advanced divers. My wife is open water, but with experience in multiple countries and about 30 dives. But they're advanced. So what I like to tell people, or a way of thinking about this, if I see a guy, let's say some tough bikers, and they all have a bunch of chains and bats, and I'm like, hey, go kick that big one right in the shin. And you're like, what, are you crazy? The guy will kill me. And I'm like, no, hang on. What are you doing? It's a black belt. I'm an instructor. I give you a black belt. Now you're a black belt. Now go kick the guy in the shin. You're all right because you're a black belt now too. No, it's not how it works. So that's how I also feel about being an advanced, in air quotes there, diver. Do you really have the experience of being advanced? Even the title alone, advanced. Well, hey, this girl thought she was advanced. She'd never been in the ocean before, but she had her camera. She was focusing on that. That's how the dive went. We planned our dive, dove our plan. We stayed right at 60 feet. Me and my wife, they were going like this. And then we're going to do our safety stop, right? We come up, and she kept going. Coming up. She's looking at her camera. She came from 100 feet to the surface and just blew past everything because she was looking at the camera because she wasn't used to diving. But to her mind, hey, I'm advanced. I can go down to 100 feet now. Woo-hoo, here I go. Then, oh, that's a cool fish. And the husband freaked out. He went after her. The instructor slowly went after her. I stayed there with my wife with the safety stop. Nothing I could do at that point. Fortunate for her that nothing happened. But that's a surefire way of getting the bends and never diving again or never breathing again. And again, it goes back to with a car. If you're not experienced with it, why are you driving 150 miles an hour in a car when it's your first week of driving? Well, I passed the instructor said I was a race car driver. Well, good for you. So that's why you have to take a little bit of personal responsibility. No matter what instructor tells you you're at this level, if you're not comfortable at that level, then don't do it. If you think, hey, I need to get some dives under my belt before I'm really focusing on photographing things and filming things, because that's a skill of its own, then you should. And that's what I want to leave you with, is just, I guess that story is a good one to quit on, because I think that puts it home, going up. And when you learn about diving, if you hear someone that went from 100 to straight to the top, that's a problem. And I saw that, and it was because the instructor was so just overly confident that he had already trained them in a day, and they had never been in the ocean before. And that's what blew my mind. They were open water divers literally the day before, the day they arrived at that resort, and now they're advanced. And he's like, go ahead, go that deep. So that's just how I feel about it. So if you like, share this video to anyone who's thinking about diving or wanting to go on a resort. I think your time is better served, your money's better served to take your time and to do that at a local dive shop versus going to a resort, spending your entire vacation that you saved up, saved the days off, to do schoolwork, to do book work. And also, you're not under that pressure to you have to get out there, you have to get the most out of it, because that's when things kind of, disasters can happen. So be safe, and thank you for watching. Also, I want to mention this is part of my podcast. This is the first video of the series that I'm doing in the podcast. The audio will be uploaded directly to my podcast. It's down in the description, so if you don't mind, click on that link and subscribe there. I appreciate it, and catch you next time.